Hello, my dear friends. It is lovely to see you. I'm Stephen Clements, a writer, a gamer, and an appreciator of big brain activities in general. And on this channel, I perform dramatic story readings, I provide role-playing game and movie reviews, and I get to talk to interesting people. And because I previously did a bunch of movie reviews, I got to talk to some interesting people, and all that centered around the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival in 2023 that I attended in Mobile, Alabama. In 2024, I chose to attend the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival from Fort Living Room to try out their virtual film festival. And I witnessed such delights that I've been wanting to tell you about them ever since. Short films, feature films, corny host skits. I want to tell you about a lot of quality visual media that you may never hear about otherwise. And you would definitely be missing out on something special for very many of these. Now, sure, there were some stinkers in the film festival, but from what I saw, 2024 looked to be a pretty banner year for quality of the submissions they got, which makes me look forward even more to what's coming in 2025. Since I saw about 48 movies in a long weekend, and I want to keep them from blending together and getting lost in the shuffle, I'm going to break this film festival review into 4 segments, just like I did last time. Now, if you've never been to a film festival before and wonder why you should, film festivals are great for identifying creators you've never heard of, but that you definitely want to be tapped into. People that are doing stuff you love and can't get enough of. People that are doing interesting things that you never knew that you needed in your life, and now you've been exposed to it. And for all this, once you know who's making it, you can find out more about them and get into their creative pipeline. For example, from the 2023 festival, I was so impressed with the works of Jeff Gorsica and Gregory Fox Jr. that I did interviews with them. We had great times doing it, and now I've got interesting, cool people as friends. And so as part of my film festival review, first off, I'm going to tell you about how I attended it. I briefly touched on that for the 2024 edition, I did the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival virtual streaming event. And while you can attend the festival in person in Providence, Rhode Island or Portland, Oregon, unfortunately the festival did not return to Mobile, Alabama where I'd gone in 2023. So rather than travel to one end of the country or the other, I decided to give the virtual streaming experience a try. And I must say it worked pretty well. For about $90, I received rolling access to more movies, short films, feature films, interviews, and special segments than I could possibly watch. Honest to God, I spent most of the days of the streaming film festival doing nothing but watching the material that they had on display, and I still couldn't watch everything that I had access to because I like sleep. But not everything that is available at their in-person events was available for the streaming edition. Due to licensing reasons, the film festival organizers couldn't get the rights to certain things and so weren't able to include them in the digital package. So if you're a completionist that insists on getting every dollar's worth of your ticket price, then you may want to attend an in-person event. And the streaming site, it performed well for me, and I could watch everything that I tried to as stable as possible. Once into the site, I saw a bunch of different films I could pick from, presented as thumbnail images of each movie that you could click on, learn more about it, and then activate it if the time was right. And that's my only gripe about the virtual experience, is the way that you unlock movies to watch them. The time limits on when you can do so, and the rolling unlocking of which films you can watch when. Let me explain. When I logged into the streaming site, not every film was available for watching right away. Most feature films and short film blocks were time locked to where they couldn't be watched until a certain time on the clock had passed. When a movie became available to unlock, I had to click a button to unlock it, and I only had a certain amount of time to watch it before it became unavailable again. And this was annoying. There may be legitimate reasons why these limitations are there that I'm just not aware of, but as someone who's used to paying for digital experiences in a streaming environment, this isn't something that I'm used to. Once I've paid for something, I can normally watch what I want to watch when I want to watch it. So this felt inconvenient. I had to plan and prioritize what I watched, because when the clock on the streaming pass expired, that was it. There was no going back and rewatching something. Now that gripe aside, I still had a great time. So don't worry about it impinging on your enjoyment of what's going on. Just know it so you can plan for maximizing your film festival experience. Now, if you don't want to try watching dozens of movies, then there is also the 5-movie pass, which lets you pick 5 feature films or 5 short film blocks to watch and saves a few bucks. It's about $55 for that, and it's still plenty of content. If you compare the price you pay per movie to the price you pay per movie going to a physical cinema, it's competitive and hours of entertainment. Now, as we go through this review, with each film, I'm going to give the name of the thing we're reviewing, its runtime, a short story synopsis, the information I could find about it and its creators that seemed interesting, if I could find a trailer where you could check it out for yourself, and what I thought about it. And in the video description below, I'll post the film names and any links I have that'll help you run down the information I'm talking about. Now this year I'll also be scoring the films to reflect who I think will enjoy it and how much. On a scale of 1 to 10, higher scores reflect the broadness of audience that I think will enjoy it, and how much I think that audience will enjoy it. Lower scores don't necessarily mean the movie is worse, just that it'll have a more limited appeal in terms of audience. Since this festival focuses on the cosmic horror niche, I expect most films will be scored 6 or below, because 1 to 6 indicates that only true fans of the genre should apply. Normies will probably be grossed out, unnerved, or straight up not have a good time with a lot of the movies that we're going to see, because they're normies. They're not into this. They're not into mind-breaking terror as an enjoyable pastime. In this scale, a film score of 7 means this film is an absolute piece of gold for the Lovecraftian genre fan, but it also has begun to enter the realm of acceptability for your general audience. So scores of 7 to 10 mean not only will us horror fans enjoy it, but this is where you can start showing it to your friends and relatives and have them not call the cops on you. Now, if I give a score of 5 or less, just bear in mind that I tried to be charitable to the film's creator and to find who might enjoy this and what might be something good about it. But as the score goes down, I had an increasingly harder and harder time finding it. Those low scores are my way of morally covering myself in case you try to watch this thing, think it's terrible, and then wonder why I didn't warn you about it. Well, I did warn you about it, and you chose to go anyway. Now, there's not a lot of those in the 2024 festival lineup. And as I said, it looked like a very strong year of submissions. The one most common element that most of these films got right was the soundtrack. These creators almost universally learned the lesson that they should ask themselves, what would John Carpenter do? And work from there. That is not a bad move in the slightest, because the man's good at making soundtracks. His skill as a musical talent should not be underestimated. And as a matter of fact, if you haven't seen some of his more recent music videos, check them out. They are fire. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing some short film blocks, and each one of those blocks had a cheesy intro from the film festival hosts, and they were stupid fun. Now, as you watch them, there is an actual plot that unfolds between the different introductions to the short film blocks, and it gave me some good chuckles. So now that we've covered my thoughts on the festival format, my scoring method, and that we're going to be looking at short film blocks, let's get into the 12 short films we're going to take a look at today. We're going to be looking at a couple of competitors for what I consider to be the best short films of the entire festival, and a couple stinkers. But just know if you watched all these, you would be generally entertained. The first short film was arguably the best and really set that standard high for the quality that I was going to be expecting from this festival, Your Parasite and You. With a 6-minute runtime and made in the USA, the festival description for it goes, hosting a parasite is a special time for you and your body. How can you be a good host to your parasite? We'll show you how. Made in the style of an animated corporate training video, this thing is funny, with a clean presentation that promotes paranoia while set to an encouraging, jaunty 1950s music score. The parasite in question came from outer space and needs you as a host to nurture it through its horrid growing cycle, which is humorously and horribly depicted. It's a laugh a minute. Short film creators like to experiment with format of the films they're presenting because creativity's free and they usually don't have any money, but limitations do breed creativity. Director Jamie Gower effectively weaponized PowerPoint to make the film look the way it does, and it worked. I checked out his website and found that he also made this interesting series called New Message, where stories are told via voicemail messages. It's kind of neat, man, worth checking out. Jamie was also commissioned by the Film Fest to do some humorous public service announcements, and I think they're pretty good. There is also a Vimeo link with the trailer, but it is pretty short and doesn't get into the best parts. I couldn't find where to watch the full short film, but if I later do, I'll post it in the video description. I give this a score of 9 out of 10. Good entertainment for a broad audience. Yes, there's some gross and horrific parts to it, but the humor works, the presentation works, it'll feel familiar to people who've had any sort of corporate job, and I think this could be a good gateway to get people into Lovecraftian horror. I'd also say that this ties with the best short film of the block with The Worm, which we're going to talk about right now. Running for 14 minutes, the official description on this one reads, Two collectors of the occult discuss the discovery of a box that contains untold horrors for those who look inside. Written and directed by Cameron Tubbs, this is a black and white mystery involving two men facing off in an escalating dialogue about the box and what to do with it. The acting from Tubbs and Jonathan Bergioni is intense, and the writing builds intrigue over what's in the box and what's going to happen. The emotional trap that we're led into is viscerally intense, and I loved it. So great performances, excellent writing, and perfect pacing. The worm gets in, delivers a hard-hitting story, and gets out before it overstays its welcome. I won't get into the story details any further than we already have because I don't want to spoil any of it. I want you to watch it. For score, I give it an 8 out of 10. I think most people would find this satisfyingly interesting, but it has more violence and madness involved which might scare off some normies. The trailer is available on both YouTube and Vimeo, and at just shy of 1 minute, I think it does a good job of teasing the potential audience. I looked into director Cameron Tubbs, who you can follow on Instagram, and found that he's made a few other things, including an upcoming feature film in the evil Appalachia theme called Acolyte. His trailer is also available on Vimeo, and it looked pretty cool, so I'll keep an eye out. Up third is the 4-minute wonder, Shadows of the Silver Screen. Created by Ava Stapleton, here's the festival's description. A trip to the theater takes a twisted turn once the projector begins controlling the fate of its audience. Once it starts, there's no turning it off. This is a stop-motion short film that I'm sure David Lynch would have absolutely loved for its grisly visual noise aesthetic. The main character enters a circus tent we see, intent on seeing some delights. Gets ensnared by the very film projector he hoped would entertain him, and horror ensues. Stapleton delivers bizarro circus, grotesque visuals accompanied by a deranged soundtrack. This is a bit bleak and dark to really get to my happy spots, and frankly it hits a bit close to home. But those who like surreal horror, Lynch, and Tim Burton will love it because it's exactly their flavor. I score this 7 out of 10 because it does what it intends to perfectly, and some normies might enjoy this. The Nightmare Before Christmas is still a big hit, and not all of those are going to be hardcore genre fans watching it. Those people have a good chance of enjoying this. In researching Ava Stapleton, it looks like she graduated from film school, put this out, and I don't see anything else coming down the pike. There are some sites with information on her and pictures of her work, but there are no dedicated trailers for Shadows of the Silver Screen. She does have a 2024 stop-motion video that includes footage from it, so you can get glimpses of it. Moving on to short film 4, we have Visions of Sonya, Greene. At 21 minutes long, the official description is a film adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's Statement of Randolph Carter that follows Sonya Greene, a local sheriff, as she investigates a mysterious man found near death at the side of the highway. Digging deeper, circumstances begin to link back to the disappearance of her brother years prior. As the truth unravels before her, a grand cosmic secret bridging thousands of years and miles is revealed to her. That description covers what happens pretty well. Director Maximilian Weiland shows us his story mostly in black and white with colored flashback scenes. This is a murder mystery / police procedural set in a rural environment, so basically it's Evil Dead meets Fargo. This short film helps prove the point that smoking on screen makes you more interesting to watch. There's ruins in the mountains Sonya explores, and while the actress comes across as a bit stilted, the character undergoes an initiation into madness, and the ending pays off with a creepy reward. I score it 5 out of 10. Cosmic horror fans will enjoy this, but the production values are too low for normal audiences to give it the time of day. It's not perfect, but it's generally enjoyable for genre fans. The director's website looks promising, but is in fact full of broken links. There's also no trailer, just a little bit on his Instas about the festival. It didn't knock my socks off, so it's not the end of the world that I can't point out where you can see it. Short film 6 is Robbie Ain't Right No More. 18 minutes long, this film by Kyle Parrott is about a young girl's brother returns from war with the most disturbing souvenir. That's a short description, but accurate. In this modern-day family drama where people get mad at each other around the dinner table, our war veteran turns out to be a deserter. And like the description said, he brought something home with him because of course he did. It's a horror movie. The story does move beyond people having hang-ups at dinner though, and it escalates into a Call of Cthulhu Delta Green style situation. The acting is a mixed bag. We get some good performances along with barely paid attention in drama class ones. The soundtrack does a lot of work in this one, so with these technical aspects alone, this is a 5 out of 10. People not into standard Lovecraft films won't care for this. So back to director Kyle Parrott. It's not hard to find him on IMDb and Instagram, and he regularly works in film. mostly in electrical and lighting roles. The full movie of Robbie Ain't Right No More is available on YouTube on the Alter YouTube channel. I had never heard of Alter before, but I'm glad I have now, because they've got plenty of horror short films from myriad directors to check out. It looks cool. So this is like a treasure trove of short horror films. And that's all I had for Short Films Block 1. Those are all the movies that were available for me to watch, so that's them. Now we're moving on to Short Film Block 2. We start it with a 14-minute documentary called and about The Shaver Mystery, which has actually come up on my channel before. Role-playing game creator Joe Block and I talked about exactly this in our Conspiracy Talk episode and our interview in my R1 Into the Great Rift review. I was wildly entertained by the idea of subterranean psychic dwarves kidnapping people, which inspired the alien abduction stories that came later. So I was primed to hear what this documentary had to say. 14 minutes long and directed by Dean Bertram, the Film Fest tells us, was sci-fi writer Richard Shaver really abducted and tormented by a malevolent underground race of hideous humanoids known as the Darrow? Regardless, his true stories, known collectively as the Shaver Mystery, were the most successful and controversial sci-fi tales of the mid-20th century. Turns out this isn't a standalone short film, but rather an excerpt from a work in progress called The Man Who Invented Flying Saucers. What we get is a series of interviews about the Shaver Mystery, interspliced with B-movie footage to spice up the presentation, which it does well. To expand on what the Shaver Mystery is a bit for this review, Dick Shaver, which is an awesome nickname, I give it a 6 out of 9, claims he was kidnapped for 8 years by these subterranean psychic robots named the Darrow, and they tortured him for their unknowable evil schemes. He sent letters about his experience and escape to Ray Palmer, publisher of popular pulp sci-fi magazine Amazing Stories. Dick's story was a hit, and Palmer cashed in, running Shaver's stories for years, and most fans loved it. It was a genuine success story. It's reckoned fans sent in about 50,000 letters talking about Shaver's trials and tribulations, and some fans offered up their own experiences with the Darrow too. However, this documentary claims it didn't really happen. The real story appears to be that Shaver was mentally ill and locked in an asylum during those years, and he hallucinated the evil robot psychically torturing him. It also talks about the backlash Palmer received for leaning so heavily on the topic to the detriment of other stories he could have run, and the distasteful aspect of making money off a mentally ill man. The soundtrack added a moody energy. The editing was tight, so while I can't speak to the quality of its research or interviews, it's a well put together bit of cinema. I couldn't find a trailer, but the Facebook page for The Man Who Invented Flying Saucers talks about it and the different film festivals this short film runs in and sometimes wins. Despite not liking the fact that it ruins a wonderful fantasy for me, I still give this a 7 out of 10. Ancient Aliens proves that the general audience will eat up this kind of thing and get into it. However, I question the novelty of making another Shaver mystery documentary because there's plenty of them out there. Next we have Dwindle. It's 17 minutes long and the summary goes, a young woman travels with her blind sage father away from their ruined home to find a better life. The father's chilling tales about an ancient forest creature proves to threaten their relationship in ways nobody could have foreseen. So blind dad and his daughter travel through post-apocalyptic USA, headed to a new colony. And they kill a bunny off screen for food, making it officially the worst movie ever made. The only person they encounter is bad, and their trail is bedeviled by a monster called the Wretched Roamer. There's some cool twists in the story along the way and awesome puppet work. It uses the obvious low-budget set of wandering around in the woods, and the performances were fine. Director John Broadhead has made a bunch of films over the years and is also a writer, so if you enjoy this, you may want to look into his website and YouTube page. And you might enjoy it because you can see the whole thing for yourself and decide if this is or is not for you, because the full short film is on his YouTube page. I give it a 7 out of 10. General audiences might find it mildly amusing, but folk horror fans will think far more of it, outside of murdering a cute bunny. 1,000 curses on their house for that. But it's worth a watch. Moving on, we have director Jesse Minahan's short film Conjure. When I say short, I really do mean short. It is 1 minute long. The Film Fest description reads, a man paints a picture and mistakenly conjures up a beast. Spoiler, one guy feverishly painting gets pulled into it by a monster he invoked. At just shy of 1 minute, that's all it has time to do, and it's a fun little thing. In researching Conjure and its creator, there's really not much available. IMDb has basically nothing. The director's website has several short films you can watch, but not Conjure. With a name like Jesse, I couldn't even tell if it was a dude or a chick. This empty Pinterest page shows it might be a guy, but that might be an AI thumbnail too. No, wait. This sparsely tinted Insta shows it's the same guy. So this is the director. He appears to be a painter, which would explain the film's subject matter of a man becoming so obsessed with his art that it consumes him. I thought it was neat. 7 out of 10. And at 1 minute, even your normie friends will give it a whirl. Coming to us courtesy of Turkey's Tourism Board, we now look at Passengers. Every life is a journey with intersections at certain stops. One autumn night, a group of people awaits a train at a station, one of these stops. However, they've all forgotten one truth. When a young man delves into the eerie night to find his fiancée, he will remember and remind the others. Director Boudra Mert Al-Khaylar made this 14-minute short film. Black and white, which plays well to the noir mood of the story. Besides a good soundtrack, I saw a chirping kitty, making this the best movie ever. Turks love their cats, and this movie shows that off for about 1 second. We open on a married couple sitting on a bench at a train platform, while the guy from the description wanders around. He encounters people in states of distress while waiting for the train. They're all missing someone who can't come with them, or who they're looking for. And he's looking for his fiancée. He does find her, and dark hijinks ensue. It's an attempt at surreal cinema, and it mostly succeeds. The performances are fine, but we do get some unnecessary close-ups with only okay special effects. So I would have encouraged Al-Khaylar to go with the less is more approach to maximize the impact without clumsy makeup taking viewers out of the moment. The director has made a lot of short films and keeps churning them out, so I guess Turkish cosmic horror has a future. The entire short film is available on his Vimeo, and I'd recommend it. I score it 6 out of 10. It's interesting to Lovecraft, noir, and Lynch fans. Unfortunately, our next entry was not as good or coherent. Pond, directed by Stefan Kieplik, is a 13-minute German short film. After a traumatic incident at sea, Merle is no longer the same and has become mute. Fleeing to the countryside to escape an impossible decision, she becomes entangled in an ancient secret that will once again alter her life forever. It starts with the relationship problems of a sea tragedy survivor and her man. She's gone crazy and lives in the woods, which is also short film budget friendly, while her man keeps calling, trying to entice her back to a normal life. She doesn't go for it, instead wanders around in the woods, by a fruit stand, into a pond. And randos keep telling her to not swim in that pond. It should come as a shock to precisely nobody that she does swim in that pond. And hijinks ensue. We get beautiful nature shots, and so far the only contender for the much vaunted Tasty Thigh Award, but they kill an innocent snail off screen, so it's officially the worst movie ever. Now the credits say Ernie the Snail was okay, but I don't believe them for a second. There's minimal soundtrack, clumsy performances, and I don't get the ending. Or if I do, it did nothing for me. The score is 3 out of 10. It was boring, and I didn't see the value in it, but there's a chance some might, thus 3 instead of a 1. There is a trailer on Vimeo, but I could find very little about the director or the film for further reference. Our penultimate short film for this review segment is Eldritch Karaoke by Joe Loftus. The Irish director from last year's Still Up There, which was darkly good. The Film Fest describes this 5-minute animated feature with a young woman on the road to escape her past, is hit by a car and descends into a chaotic musical afterlife. With a description like that from this creator, I was hyped. After finishing it, I was disappointed. It lacked punch. The main character didn't do anything, and in such a dramatic situation, it's hard to root for such a passive character. She got hit by a car, was ordered to sing for the bizarre entities hounding her in the afterlife, and she didn't. She didn't do anything, and somehow won. Eldritch Karaoke looked great, with creative visuals, it had good sound effects, but the voice mix was subdued and hard to understand at times. Apparently the Waterford International Film Festival 2024 disagreed with me because they named this winner of their festival. I encourage you to check out Loftus's YouTube and Instagram channels because he's got a lot of promise and is doing a better job of presenting his work than at the 2023 festival where I could barely find anything about him. His YouTube has a trailer for this, so give it a whirl. I give it a 5 out of 10. Normies will be creeped out by it, but genre fans will find something to like about it even if they share my caveats. We wrap up this review episode on a higher note with a caution for the wise. When an 18th century cleric, Reverend Heatley Smith, is appointed to a new rural parish, he finds his faith tested by local superstitions surrounding a strange mound in an ancient woodland. Heatley has little time for the local superstition, and being an academic and a scholar, he begins to ruminate about the true nature of the so-called Devil's Mound. In an attempt to rid the parish of its blasphemous beliefs, Heatley endeavors to prove that the mound in question is merely an ancient Neolithic burial site of historic and scientific importance. Led by his own arrogance and blind self-conviction, Reverend Heatley Smith finds himself confronted by local friction tragic circumstances, and an elusive individual that begins to haunt his every step. Loosely based on a chapter from the smash hit novel Skindleby, written by the director's father, Nick Brown, with all rights permitted. British director Gaius Brown made this 29-minute short film, and this is a good one. A period piece, this is set in a pre-industrial Anglosphere location, and framed as a priest journaling to relate the tale. Locals keep warning the priest against taking a shortcut across an allegedly cursed hill. But as the description mentioned, the priest is a man of reason and dismisses their superstition. So he fucks around and finds out, with some great scenes along the way, including a tempting apparition playing a key part, which frankly might work on me too. The production is good cinematography, evocative and haunting locations, great sets, good supporting actors, and a lead performance that sucks you in. The taciturn priest is played by Patrick O'Donnell, who was in Vikings, a bunch of other stuff, won awards, and even appeared in Werewolves of the Third Reich. My only pick of the acting might be a pick at the audio editor. Again, we get some mumbly dialogue, which is a plague on modern filmmaking. Editors not knowing how to give consistently clear dialogue to the audience. And you can see that in even high-budget movies. So it doesn't seem to matter how much money a studio has to make a film. Audio editors just ain't pulling their weight anymore. You can see the trailer and more at Gaius Brown's YouTube page, and I'm going to look at more of his works in the future because this is a solid 7 out of 10. Horror fans will be well pleased, and general audiences will no doubt appreciate what it has to offer. Is it going to change your life? Probably not. Are they going to enjoy it? Yes. That's all the reviews I have for this episode, and hopefully some of them have intrigued you into checking them out, whether it's their trailers or the entire short film that's available. Perhaps this has interested you in checking out the 2025 H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival for yourself, whether in person or virtual formats. So do check out the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival's website and Facebook page for news. They also upload interviews and other content to their YouTube page. Links to all three will be in the video description below. I have no financial interest in the film festival. I buy my own tickets. I just want people who are into this kind of stuff to have as good a time with it as I did. And if you don't know about it, how are you going to do it? Believe me, you'll be glad or terrified that you did. So my dear friends, as always, I thank you for your time and that you chose to spend it with me in the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. Be sure to tune in for part 2, and until then, as we part for now, I wish you nothing but the best.